I looked at this answer of volume equals 343, and it should be 343 cubic centimeters, you just had 343. You didn't have the units with it, the cubic centimeters, okay? So, when you look at those answers in the back, notice that they have those. The other thing I noticed is that here, when it says the volume is 27, I had people tell me the side length was 3, and then they put cubic inches. The length of the length of this side is 3 cubic inches. It can't be 3 cubic inches. Does that make sense to you? It has to be 3 inches, right? When it's 512, we were looking at 8 meters. So when you look at those answers, so everyone should be on this page, way back on page 34, okay? So that if I walk by, I could see that you had page 34 completed, right? And does that make sense how we are looking at those? So those of you that have cubic, right here, I need you to erase that or scratch it out, right? We don't want the word cubic here. That's wrong. It is only inches. So cross that off or erase it. I don't care which one. So that when I look at 216, I see only not cubic yards, but just 6 yards. So checking those answers in the back, none of these should be cubic. Should 1, 2, and 3 have the word cubic with it? Definitely, okay? So when I'm looking at those answers, now, we're going to be getting back your homework quiz in a little bit from yesterday, but one of the things that, to me, is that if you are not checking these answers in the back, it shows on those homework quizzes. So yesterday when I asked you to find the square root of a couple of numbers and you couldn't do it, or to find the side length given this was the area, I had people get mixed up on the quiz yesterday. I told you the area was equal to 9, like maybe square centimeters, and I had people telling me that the side length was 81. They got those two mixed up. I was looking for you when I typed it inside to find the square root of the area in centimeters, and I was looking for 3 centimeters, right? For the square root of 121, can you guys tell me what that is now? Square root of 121? 11, right? If I'm looking for, I think yesterday, one of the other ones that I asked you to look at was what was the square root of 144. Square root of 144 is, and it had this in front of it. So it had to be -12, right? So we want to make sure that the sooner you memorize this list, the easier these are going to be for you, okay? So I'm going to have you turn right now to lesson 3. Side equals 2 centimeters, right? We can even see that. 1, 2. Please write that. The next one, area is 9. What is the side? 3. Side 3. And we're going to put units. Here, area 16. What are we doing with that area of 16? We're taking that square root, so the side is, you could count it, or 4 units. Now, we probably should change this from centimeters to units, huh? Just to be. It says, how does the answer fit with the idea of square root, right? So, how does the answer fit? We take the side is equal to the square root of the area. Or we might write it this way. The square root, please, of the area equals the side. So when we look at our picture, we started with the square root of 4 equal 2. Area, square root of area equals the side. We got the square root of 9 equals 3. I'm going to ask you that on a quiz, right? What's that square root? We had the square root of 16 equals 4. Now we also could have said that if we take the side, 2 squared, it equals 4, which was our area. So if we take the side and square it, it's always equal to the area. So being able to go back and forth between these two, 3 squared equals 9, 4 squared equals 16. Now some of you have these numbers down. You kind of get that, squares and cubes. You kind of, you already started looking at those. By the way, if you do look at Quizlet, as you look at here, I put up some Quizlets. And again, if you don't like making flashcards, you have to start studying. So today in advisory, right? Advisory is a study hall. You want to start studying those. I don't care if you go to Quizlet. I don't care if you grab flashcards from me. I don't care if you do it verbally, if your teacher will let you in your classroom, but you need to start memorizing those. So, that next page down, it says here's a square with an area of 12 square centimeters. What is the side length? Is it going to be a perfect square with a whole number? So we're going to use our calculator and we're going to guess and check. We are going to put two numbers that multiply together to give me 12. So, first guess. If I'm looking for my first guess. Now we just saw that 9, right? The square root of 9, if we looked at that. When the area was 9, we had 3. And when the area is 16, we got 4. So if we're finding the square root of 12, can it be more than 4? Because 4 squared is 16. Can it be less than 3? If I square 3, I get 9. So it has to be someplace between 3 and 4, right? Do we get that? Does that make sense if we're going to start making our guess? So, 3 point what? 3.5. So on your calculator, we're going to take 3.5 times 3.5. 12.25. So square your guess. 12.25, we would say too big, right? Next guess. What do you go with? Abby. I know. Give me a guess. More than 3.5 less. Less, so 3 point what? 3.3. Okay, put 3.3 in your calculator. Right? 3.3 times 3.3. Now, does anyone know another button we could use on our calculator? Okay, so up here, this button, most of you have an X squared on your button. If we put 3.3 and you square it, so make sure you check that you know how to use the square button on your calculator or find out. Okay? 10.89. Too small, right? Yep. Next guess, Bert. 3.4. 3.4. I think that sounds good. We definitely want to go to 3.4. 3.4, when you put it in your calculator, what do we get? Ooh, that's not what we wanted. 3.4 squared, 11.56. So, we're closer, right? But still too small. Next guess. What are we looking at? Maybe 3.45. 3.45. If we are looking at 3.45. 3.45. How'd you guys do? How close are we? 1.9. 3.45. That's pretty close, right? Could we get more specific? What would you go? 3.45 or 4.6 or 4.7, right? Okay, so I want, we said 3.45 was 11.9, right? Still a little too small, but really close, right? So 3.45 was really close if we were looking at that. I want you on your calculator. So it says, so the sides of the square are about, what can we say, 3.45. And you said when you put it in, what did you get, Daniel? What did you say was the number you got? 3 point what? 3.465. If we square it, really close, 3.46. Okay, really close, right? I want you on your calculator right now. So a lot of times you have a square button. Some of your calculators are going to have the square root button. Mine is separate. A lot of your calculators have right above the x squared, they have that little light blue square root. You have to hit your second function to get to that, right? So at the top, we are going to put in 12. And if on my calculator, I hit this button. Now yours, you probably have to hit, so if I'm doing it on this calculator, when I turn it on, I hit 12, and then I hit second, and then I hit the x squared button. Oh, that's not the right order. Check your calculator. So what did this one have to do? I had to start with second x squared, and then I put in 12, and it goes underneath the square root. Okay, do you have a calculator? Okay, we were supposed to grab one up in front. Anyone else not have a calculator? Because I still have a couple more. Yeah, one? Okay, awesome. So on mine, I put 12, then I hit square root. 3.464. 46. We're going to estimate that. So this is the decimal approximation. Did everyone get about 3.464 on their calculator? If you didn't, I want to check with you. I want to make sure you know how to put that in your calculator, right? So that's going to be kind of important as we are taking a look at that, right? I want to make sure you know how to put that in your calculator, okay? So the square root of 12 is equal to 3.464, right? We're looking at that. 3.4546, if we are looking at that. So it says finding the side lengths of squares. Top of that next page of your notes. It says these three squares are drawn so that so their sides are not vertical or horizontal. Their areas of the triangles are triangles that are given. How long are the sides of each one? Use your calculator to guess and check. Remember, side times side equals area, and the square root of the area equals side. So, remember, side squared, please write that at the top here, equals area. And the other thing we want to write is that the square root of our area is equal to the side. So, I want you to work with area 2, use that square root button, right? So on our calculator, right, we can use our square root, or we can try and square it. So if we're guessing 2, area is 2. It has to be between 1 and, what two numbers? 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. So it has to be between 1 and 2, right? So this number is going to be between 1 and 2 when you guess that. When we look at square root 5, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. It has to be between 3 and 4, right? You can use your calculator by all means. 2 square root. We're going to put it down, and what does it ask us to do? It says find this side. So if we are finding this side, as we look at it, what should I have for a number? For that first one, I should be writing in, using your calculator, about 1, put what shows up on your calculator, okay? We're going to do that next one. So please use your calculator and write them down. many place values did I go? If we are taking a look at this, if we're looking at the place values, I'd like you to go the same amount. 1.414, about 5 numbers behind the decimal point. So when I take a look at your next problem, for square root 5, if I'm looking at going 5 numbers behind the decimal point, 5 numbers behind the decimal point, if I take a look at that. Jordan, what do you have? 2.23506. I'm looking at square root 8 as I take a look at that one. Aaron, what did you get for square root 8? 2 point how much? 2. Ooh, let's check that out. Let me see. How'd you put that in your calculator? Did you put in square root 8? Okay. Okay, let's go further. Tell me what you have. 2.82842 units, right? So it says, what kind of answers did we get? When you take a look at those answers, were they perfect squares? No. Long decimals, right? Long decimals. The next part down, it says, how does this fit with the idea of a square root? This is what I would like for you to write down. How does this fit with the idea of a square root? So this is the box, okay? The answers we got are square roots of the area. And the square root of 2 is about, that's what that's saying, 1.41. Square root of 5 is about 2.24. That's what that says. So we got the square roots of the areas. We are always taking the square root of the area to find our side length. Now, I just want you to take a look at this right here. And if you look at these two, and if I put these two together, do you agree that that is 4 square units right here? Okay? And so if I put those two together, so sometimes when we look to find the side length, we need to know the area. I want you to look at this square, and if you draw these lines like this, do you see that this is 1 square unit? You agree? And if I put these two together, this would be 2 more. And this would be another 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we got the area of 5. Okay? This is going to be important because you're going to be having to count squares when you do this assignment. I'll tell you, in years past, they had to draw a ton of these diagonal ones. Oh my gosh, students hated it. So this is way better. If you had an older brother or sister that had Math 8 like 2 years ago, oh my gosh, the drawing of squares that we did, it was just like horrendous. They hated it, okay? So it says, complete the drawing of the square, find the area, and the side length by guessing and checking and using your calculator. So I want you to notice that this is like going over 1 and up 1, 2, 3 dots, right? Here we went down 1, we went over 1, 2 to this 3rd dot right here. We're going to do the same counting from this point. You're going to go up 1 and go over 1, 2, 3 points. This is going to be our other corner. Okay? So please mark that 2nd dot. That's going to be where our corner is. Now, I have this nice tool, and I know you might have like something else on your desk, but please try and draw, and I do have straight edges up here, but we're not going to hand those out right now. But I want you to draw a nice straight line connecting those two so that we get this square. And the first thing we have to figure out is what is the area of it. So here's where I want you to draw this line. I want you to draw something like this. Make that a right triangle. Make this another right triangle. Okay, another right triangle. Because what we need to know first is what is the area. Now in the middle, I already know I have how many square units? So you said 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm already up to 4. Do you agree? Okay, so I have 4 plus. Well, this is a triangle that's 1, 2, 3 tall by 1. But if I would bring this triangle up with it, how many more squares do I have? 3 more, right? Do you agree? Does everyone see how we get 3 more by cutting that? Okay. So if it helps you, we're combining these 2 together. That's how we get this 3. And what's going to happen if I would bring this one up and I'd bring it here? How much more do we have? 3 more. So my area of my square is how much? 4 plus 6 is 10 square units. Yep. Okay. So 10 square units. So now we got to find the side length. Is 10 one of our lists that you memorized? 1, 4, 9, 16. Between 9 and 16, it's not perfect, right? It's 10. So we're going to use our calculator. So please put in your calculator. Right now, everyone should have theirs. 10 square root. Is it a perfect square?
No.
No, not at all. It's kind of an ugly number, right? We're going to be talking about that. It's called an irrational number. It never ends and it never repeats. Now, it does on your calculator, but, so please put side length. We're going to put side length. S equals square root of 10. Write that first. Side equals the square root of 10, and then put 3.162277. Question over here.
When I enter mine, and it just says domain error.
It does. Let's check yours out. Okay? And I want you to look at this next answer as you're filling that in. Okay? These 2 things. If I'm looking at them in your homework or in your notes. Okay? And again, after today's class, I'll be posting these, right? So you can see them online if you need to. So it says we want to approximate our square roots. When we are approximating square roots on the top of the next page, this is going to be done without a calculator. And when we take the test, you have to approximate square roots and cube roots, and you have to do it, this is on the non-calculator part. So we've just used our calculator to see what those numbers are. I'm not going to be worried that you're so close to exact that when you have these, but you should be able to get a pretty good idea. So how are we going to do this for our test and in our homework tonight? You can approximate square roots by finding the 2 square roots that it's closest to and trying to approximate. So if we're going to round the square root of 95, first thing you have to think of is what are my 2 perfect squares that are in between, that 95 is in between. And the square root of 81 is 9, and the square root of 100 is 10. Okay? So by knowing 81 and 100, I know that 95 has to be between 9 and 10. So what you're going to do is you set up, you'll put square root of 81 first. You'll write this number. Right below it, the square root of 81, you'll put is 9. At the other end of your number line, you're going to put square root of 100. Square root of 100 is 10. Then we're going to go halfway. And we're going to go, halfway between 81 and 100. So, right above here, would you please put 81 plus 100 is equal to, we know how much? 181. And if we divide that by 2, that's finding the average, right, of those 2 numbers. 181 divided by 2 is going to give us 90. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 90.5. Now you have a calculator in front of you, right? Check. 90.5 times 2. If I do 90.5 times 2, do I get 181? Okay. So this is right above 9.5. We were trying to find the square root of 95. If This is the square root of 90.5. It has to be more than that, right? So then we're going to go, okay, let's break it into fourths. Here's 9.25, here's 9.75. Oh, what's halfway between 90 and 100? 95, right? So it has to be just a little less. And so what we are going to say is here's 9.5. We might say that this is at 9.7 because it's 3/4 of the way between 9 and 10. Okay? 3/4 of the way between 9 and 10. We are going to do these two. And then we're going to get started on homework. So, 23. First off, what are the two perfect squares that square root of 23 is in between? The top one is square root of 25. What is the square root of 25? 5. The lower one has to be at 4. What is 4 squared? Or 16. So please put square root 16, square root 25. This is going to be our halfway point, right? 4.5. So we got 4.5, right? So we now want to look at what does this number have to be? So we're going to take 16 plus 25 gives us how much? 41. Divided by 2 gives us 20.5. Put that underneath the square root symbol, 20.5. Okay? So if we're looking at 23, do we have to worry about anything down here? No. It's going to be up here someplace, right? So here's 20.5. So look, this is maybe what? 24, 23, 22, 21. Does that make sense? So I might put those numbers down. So now I'm looking at this, and if this is 4.5, what do you think a good number would be? 4.75, 4.7. I'd take 4.7. I'd take 4.8. I'd take 4.75. I would take any of those answers for this one. If you told me 4.75 on the test, I'd give you a full credit if I saw this work. If you told me 4.7, I'd give you full credit. And I'd probably give you full credit for 4.8 because I agree that if this is in between there, it could be any of those if you round it. Okay? So let's do the one down below. 72. I want you to start it with telling me, and if you need to look back at page 2, at what perfect squares 72 is between. What two perfect squares? So you might be looking at page 2, right? Okay? So, we would say between 8 and 9. So 8, 9, right? 9 is the square root of 81. 8 is the square root of 64. And the reason I'm saying don't use your calculator for finding that middle, we know the middle is going to be 8.5, right? Between 8 and 9. And the reason I don't want you to use your calculator for finding the average of the two numbers is on the test and quiz you can. So we're going to look at 64, right, plus 81 is going to be equal to 145. That sound right? Okay. Now you're going to divide it by 2. Half of 14, 7. So this is going to be our square root of 72.5. Holy moly. Do I have to do much more work? Like that came out 72.5. What are we trying to find the square root of? 72. Would this be pretty good? Could we be done? Definitely. Could you tell me 8.45. Can someone else tell me 8.5? Because man, 72.5, right? It's just, here's the square root of 72. It might be square root of 8.45. Or maybe you tell me 8.5. I would take those answers. Does that make sense? Okay. So, I want to make sure everyone has that written down though. Okay. All right. So, you have your calculator in front of you. I just want to talk about a few of the buttons. Calculators can approximate square roots and cube roots, right? Look for these buttons. If it's not given, if it's not one of our perfect ones, this is how you're going to use your calculator. To express it as a radical, those are your radical symbols. Sometimes it gives you that key, and other calculators, you have to get that second. How do you get to a cube root? So let's try the cube root on your calculator. On a lot of our calculators, right above this is called the caret key. That's where you see this button. And it looks like this, either y to the x or x with a root. So it kind of has it right up here. Some of your calculators actually have that button. So like on this one, it's the y to the x here. And then above it, it has a little, like this key is right above it. Okay? So on my calculator, if I want to get to the cube root, okay, mine has it up here, but I want to show you how you do it this way. So what do we know the cube root of 8 is? Cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root of 8 is 2, right? So try it on your calculator to see if you can get the cube root of 8 is 2. So on my calculator, maybe I go, if I go with this, let's see. It's saying the 0 root. I have to tell my calculator to take the third, so I put in 3 first, then I hit this button. So yours, you might hit the third or the second button, and then you hit up above to get here. So I put 3. I say, oh, I want the 3 root of 8. That didn't work. Right? So I want to try and get it so that it comes out to be, I put 8, and I hit this button 3. No, I had to put it in that way. I had to put the number 8 in first. Then I had to tell me this button, and then I hit the 3, and that gave me 2. And that said to me, when I was looking at it, that the cube root of 8 is 2, which is what we knew, right? We knew that. So you got to get your calculator to figure out that you're getting it right. And I will gladly help you with that if you are struggling with that to make sure you know how to use your calculator. So, giving exact answers. I'm going to ask you to do this on your quiz. So this next part down, just set your calculator aside, right? So as we are taking a look, okay, so the first one. What is the side length if the area is 36? 6. So please write. Side equals 6 inches. If the area is 15, side length is, here what did we do? We took the square root of 36 to equal 6. Is 15 a perfect square? No. Square root 15 inches. That's what your side equals. Square root 15 inches. We are not going to put it in our calculator. What do we know? It is not a perfect square. So the side equals square root 15. Oh, but now they tell us the side is 7. What do we do with the side to find the area? We take 7 squared, and we get the area equals 49 squared inches, right? 49 square inches is our area. This is supposed to, on yours, I believe it says square root 19 here, right? And if we know that the area, the side is square root 19, how do we find the area? We take square root 19, the side, and we do what with it? Square. First thing when we did this, what do these two things do to each other? They undo each other, right? So we get just 19 inches squared is our area. Homework is A3, okay? Homework is A3. I hope you have a good day. I'll get those homework quizzes back to you tomorrow. Be ready. We'll probably have another one. You need a pass to come in or you need flashcards. Please take them. I have a bunch in front. I have more. Practice today.